ambassador for the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and I would also like to say thanks to the government and people of Venezuela for the invitation to Venezuela, and also to the International Secretariat for the International People's Assembly for inviting me to Venezuela to participate in that international meeting. So I would like to say thanks for the opportunity. I would like to open by saying that when I leave Barbados to go to Venezuela, I leave Barbados with a very open mind, because you know that there was a lot of media activity out there that gave the entire Caribbean region the impression that Venezuela was under hostage, that Venezuela conditions was very bad, that the people of Venezuela were hungry, that the people of Venezuela were suffering, and that there were a lot of protest action in Venezuela on the streets. And the media, international media, meaning BBC, CNN, Associated Writers, and Associated Press, and other international media houses tried to give people of the Caribbean region, and in particular Barbadian people, the impression that everything was bad in Venezuela, and that Venezuela was denying the Venezuelan people who were going through a crisis position assistance from the United States of America in the form of aid. When I arrived in Venezuela, I saw something totally different from what the media was painting. In terms of a picture about Venezuela, the conditions in Venezuela were totally different. At the immigration department, I would receive open arms, and not only myself, but other Caribbean delegates and persons from Africa, Asia, and other persons who were going to the International People's Assembly. They were all received and they were assisted, and then we passed through the immigration, passed through the customs, the normal security checks you would normally do. We did the normal security checks, and then we went into the island. And on our way to our accommodation, we saw the streets of Venezuela. People were went about their business as normal. Everything was calm. Everything was okay in Venezuela. The conditions were very, very good. So it was like any other country that we have in this hemisphere, where you would normally keep people walking on the streets, vehicles traveling, and everything was happening normal. Normal activity was taking place in Venezuela. Then during the evening period, I decided I would leave the hotel, so that it wouldn't be an organized program, but it would be a program that I myself would be able to go and see for myself, so that I would be able to have a clear picture and a clear understanding. And the Venezuelan people, from the time they realized that you were a Caribbean person, they were very accommodating, and you were well received by the Venezuelan community. The same activities that you have here in Barbados in terms of the public transport system was functioning okay. I traveled on the metro and there was no problems, and I come back to the hotel and everything was okay. And I walked the street both day and night during that period. Then the international conference started, and the people who participated in the international conference, they too would have experienced the similar conditions. And we in the Caribbean had a kind of a Caribbean caucus, because we wanted to have a discussion among ourselves about the conditions in Venezuela, and we discussed it before the plenary session started at the Assembly as a Caribbean grouping, because the African grouping met, the Asian grouping met, other regions met, and the Caribbean grouping met, and we discussed the conditions in Venezuela. And we were very pleased to report to the plenary that we saw a situation with very, 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 very good conditions in Venezuela. The conference started, and there were some solidarity statements were made in solidarity with Venezuela. The conference had over 400 persons from across the different continents in the world, and they were all there to participate in the international assembly. The biggest delegation was from the African region. That region was well represented, and the Caribbean region, we only had persons from Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Puerto Rico, from the English and Spanish speaking people, and the Dominican Republic, and I think Marshall and one Republic has persons from the French speaking Caribbean also the conference. We passed our resolutions at the conference in solidarity with Venezuela, and all of the delegates there were very pleased to pass the resolutions, and the final communique was supported, where we decided on a number of activities coming out of the assembly, where we will organize protest action across the entire world in front of the United States of America embassies, British embassies and High Commission office. The same thing will be done in front of Canadian embassies and High Commissions across the world. We have agreed that we will hold protest action and stand in solidarity with the government and people of Venezuela. These activities will be organized from the level of the World Peace Council and the World Federation of Democratic Youth, which is an international organization for youth organizations. They are going to, those two organizations are going to be two main global civil society organizations that are going to organize the activities across the globe, so that we can show our solidarity with the government and people of Venezuela. Now, during the conference, a number of things also happened. We were given an opportunity to visit communities, to visit hospitals, to visit educational institutions, and while visiting those institutions, we were able to meet with the working class people at these institutions, so that you can have discussions with them in terms of what's happening and the conditions and how you expect to move your country forward, and all those things came up in the discussions. The Caribbean delegation, we toured a community and an institution, an education institution, and a health institution within that community on the mountainside, outside of the city of Caracas. We visited that area with the Caribbean delegation, with the English speaking and the French speaking and the Spanish speaking Caribbean countries. And at the institution, we were able to meet with working class people. The working class people that were there, their indication was that they were fully in support of the Maduro government, and that they had something to hold on to in relation to the legacy from President Hugo Chavez. They also took us on tours where they showed us the areas relating to the education institution, how some of the education institutions were developed, so as to give a number of working class families the opportunity to send their children to school that would not have normally had that kind of educational institution within their community. Then they explained to us and showed us how community housing programs are being developed in Venezuela, to give poor working class people the opportunity to live in proper houses. And these are houses that have 2 bedrooms, some have 2 bedrooms, some have 3 bedrooms. Yes, they're made from the clear bricks, but the houses are strong and they're properly built. A community for working class people living on the mountainside in these communities. The houses are built where the community comes together. They are assisted with the material. State give them the assistance in terms of the materials, and the community themselves build the houses. for the people, and then the people end up owning the houses as part of that housing community program. So that the families are interviewed, yes, and you must be in need of the house. And once that family is in need of the house, the family is given the opportunity. The same community have been constructing buildings to create the conditions for the community persons to have school facilities. Also, they create the conditions for persons to work within the public transport system. They have given them, the opportunity so that they can go to the public transport system and work. The agricultural projects are developed for the communities, so the communities can deal with the agricultural projects and at the same time gain employment, and it can also assist the communities. And that's how the Venezuelan people have been dealing with a number of the problems relating to poor communities, and a number of the poor communities have been transformed through the Chavez government and now by the Maduro government. So the standard of living in Venezuela, and I'm explaining this because I want to explain to people that the standard of living in Venezuela have changed over the period from Chavez and Maduro, and because of the very good health facilities that the Venezuelan people have today, because of the very, very good community housing programs that they have today, and because of the changes that have taken place in Venezuela to deal with the crime situation, to deal with many of the problems that young men and women had in Venezuela under Perez. After being able to change that society, the Venezuelan people are prepared to defend their revolution because of the gains that they have gained from the revolution from Chavez period into Maduro's period. So all of the delegates that were there were given an opportunity to go to the communities and to see for themselves and to experience what the lifestyle is in Venezuela and what the people of Venezuela have been developing, and to have a clear picture and a clear understanding of the Bolivarian Revolution. After the international conference, I was given the opportunity to stay on and to have a lot more tours and to be more engaged with the Venezuelan community. And I did a lot more tours, but it was during the period where they had the carnival celebrations in Venezuela, and I was able to visit some of the parks in Venezuela to see some of the carnival celebrations. The carnival celebrations, they were not similar like the ones in Barbados or Trinidad or Brazil with the lot of costume. You find that you find costume among the children in the parks and in the communities. Some adults also, but was mainly among children. And their carnival is one where they spray water on one another, and that's part of the their celebration for the festival. And then a number of Venezuelans will normally use it as a public holiday to go to the beaches. So that what I would have seen is that at the beaches they had big festival parties, with music, loud music and dancing, and not calypso, but more the Venezuelan type music they had there. Now we were able to meet some persons from the African community also in Venezuela, and they are very pleased with the Bolivarian Revolution, because what the Afro-Venezuelan people have been saying to us that they have now received some level of recognition by the government of Venezuela, that in the past under Perez they were seen as second-class citizens within Venezuela, but the Bolivarian Revolution has extended its arms to the Afro-Venezuelan people, it has extended its arms to the indigenous people in Venezuela, and it has given many of the poor, the very poor in Venezuela, an opportunity to participate in the developmental process within Venezuela. I also saw some of the medical projects that the Cubans are doing in Venezuela at the community level, and I must say that the Cubans are doing a very, very, very good job in Venezuela, especially in the areas that were considered to be very poor. They're assisting the communities in the area, community medicine, where they're helping them to construct and develop these social missions with public health institutions, so that some communities can receive basic medical services. They also have projects where they carry out surgeries and so forth for Venezuelan people, and then the Venezuelan people are very pleased and happy to know that the Cubans are there to assist them and to give them that kind of support. In terms of talking to Venezuelan people as a Barbadian, I must say that the Venezuelan people are very, very, very pleased with CARICOM position, and they say as Caribbean people are fully in support of the action and the revolution, because when I not engaged some of the Venezuelan people, they said they're very happy that CARICOM has taken a position that our region, our zone, should remain a zone of peace. And I was a little shocked, a little taken back, because I would say to myself, because of the divisions, sometimes you would say, well, how come the Venezuelan people know all about CARICOM, or what's CARICOM position? But I mean, the Venezuelan people are very knowledgeable about what's taking place in today's world, and they were able to openly say that to us from the Caribbean region, that they were very happy to know that CARICOM was taking a very progressive position in relation to the Bolivarian Revolution and in relation to defending our region as a zone of peace. Because the Venezuelan people don't want to see any form of war in our region. The Venezuelan people are fighting and defending a process for peace, but at the same time, they're ready and willing to defend the revolution. Many Caribbean people who were there also voiced their concerns, because what the Venezuelan people are doing today, they're not only fighting for Venezuelan people, they're fighting for our hemisphere, and they're fighting for the very poor in our region, because Caribbean people have benefited from the international solidarity work from the government and people of Venezuela. And that is that Venezuela have played a major role in creating the conditions for us to have a better deal with North American countries as it relates to the free trade areas of the Americas. Because the free trade areas of the Americas is no different to NAFTA, and that would have created the conditions for the privatization of our resources, education, our health services, and social services. But President Chavez, when he was alive, or President Lula, when he was alive, created an alternative to the free trade areas of the Americas, and that created a space for many Caribbean countries and Latin American countries to be able to maintain their natural resources and to be able to maintain free health services and free education and so forth. Venezuela also went even further and extended its arms to many of the Caribbean and Latin American countries through the Petro-Caribbean Agreement. And when we were in Venezuela, we discussed it, because we looked at the issues related to the Petro-Caribbean Agreement, because the Petro-Caribbean Agreement not only about fuel, but it have also assisted a number of the Caribbean countries in the area of health, in the area of education, community development, culture, and sports, and even in disaster preparedness, and even countries that went through serious disasters like Haiti, Dominica, and Antigua and Barbuda, and other countries. They were able to receive that kind of support from the Petro-Caribbean Agreement in terms of helping those countries to through those periods of disaster when they were going through many serious problems. In fact, the Haitian delegation openly said that the only that country that maintained their position in terms of the promise after the major disaster they had with the earthquake was Cuba with its medical support, and Haiti with the housing project and other programs in Haiti to assist the Haitian people. A number of other countries that had promised to assist it, not to assist Haiti, did not carry out that kind of assistance or continue to carry out the process to assist Haiti, but Cuba maintained its position and the Venezuelan people maintained their position in terms of assisting the Haitian people. So that for me, the Venezuelans in Venezuela are very supportive of the president and the government of Venezuela. They are very supportive, and they are doing whatever it takes to defend the Bolivarian Revolution, because the Bolivarian Revolution have transformed their lives and have changed Venezuela and have given them proper health services, proper educational systems, proper housing for the poor and powerless people, a proper public transport system, because many of the people now from the mountainsides no longer have to travel long hours from the mountain to Caracas in the city, because they have now a new system in Venezuela that Chavez developed and Maduro continue, where there's like they call it a car, or metro car. They travel on cable from Caracas right to the mountain. I travel on it also, and it will take you to the community in less than 10-15 minutes. You're there and you don't have to travel long hours, and it will, so these are, public transport systems that assist the people from the mountainside so that they can travel to the city to do their work and then travel back home in evenings before having to travel long hours on the normal transport system to climb the mountain. And one of the things that shocked me was the public transport system. It's free. It's free. You can go on the metro and any part of Venezuela that where the metro will take you, and that is free. So students are using the facilities, senior citizens, elderly people, people with disability are using the transport system. I saw people with disabilities in the transport system. Everybody, have an opportunity, and the revolution is really looking after the people in Venezuela. So that's it that's it as it relates to my visit to Venezuela. To wind up, I will say that I saw a country moving forward in a positive way. I saw a country developing its culture, developing its people, creating very, very, very good housing programs for the poor and powerless people in Venezuela at the community level. And I think honestly that the media in Barbados, civil society, and the government should go to Venezuela and see for themselves. Go with an open mind. Go to Venezuela, and even if you're the guest of the government, you can participate in the activities that the government organizes. But then you can go and walk the streets yourself and investigate for yourself, so that you have a picture about Venezuela, so that nobody can say that anything is organized for you, that you would have gone to Venezuela and see for yourself and experience the situation and the conditions for yourself. The Venezuelan people They're marching, they're fighting, and they're doing whatever it takes to defend the gains of the Bolivarian Revolution. And I think we, as progressive-minded people within the Caribbean, should continue to offer our solidarity, to offer our support, and to demand that Venezuela remain a zone of peace, and that the Venezuelan people be allowed to govern themselves and to develop the type of government that they want for themselves and for the nation. Thank you. I would like to say thanks to the media houses that have come here, because we are fighting against a battle that deals with a lot of false news from the international media. And you know, the international media is painting a very bad picture of Venezuela, but when you go and see it for yourself, you see something totally different.
Taking questions?
Yeah.
I have one question, and I would direct it to basically yourself or the ambassador. Can take this question as well. Barbados has been very vocal in demanding non-interventionist response from outside, external non-interventionist external response to anything, to the sovereign matters currently going on in Venezuela. In other words, respect for sovereignty. Now, in that context, and in context of past actions such as the ship riders agreement and stuff like that, where we saw some backlash from the US, do you see it? And some pundits are also not saying that, are seeing it as not coincidental. Yesterday's travel advisory from the US, a very strange travel advisory highlighting
Barbados.
Several areas within Barbados as no-go areas to travel, including very important key component of the tourist belt, the Maxwell Coast Road, etc. Do you see this as a coincidence, or do you think this could be, as I said, again, looking at the context of let's say the shipwrights agreement, where they start attacking hotels, etc., after Barbados said no to that position years ago? Just want to get anyone's take on that.
What I would say in relation to that is that coming out of our discussion with the international solidarity meeting in Venezuela, we realized that the United States of America have been putting a lot of pressure on small nations because they have been taking very progressive positions as it relates to Venezuela. So that when a country like Barbados take a very strong and progressive position, they're taking it against a position where the United States of America is putting a lot of pressure on them. So small developed nations are forced to go to that level of pressure. That's why some countries may abstain sometimes, and they may not vote for or against because of the pressure that the United States of America on them. Now I realized yesterday, not only that, but the United States of America putting pressure on private agencies that are engaged with business with Venezuela. They want to put pressure on them, like banks and the banking institutions and so forth, and saying that if we deal with Venezuela, we're going to put pressure on them. These are things that happened in the past by the United States of America. But we are accustomed as progressive people, we are accustomed fighting these things as progressive people. Because we had a history when the United States of America and Britain give support to the racist South African nation. And we still continue to fight that battle, and we were successful. So that the United States of America will try to put pressure on small developing nations and they were using things like travel advisories and all these kinds of things to put pressure. But I think if the Caribbean people maintain their position and solidarity with Venezuela, I think our governments will continue to remain on that path. Okay? And we are progressive people, we are going to do whatever it takes to give our governments also solidarity and support so that they can continue on that path. And the time will come when we will be in a position to boycott some of those services and goods coming out of the United States of America that are attached to people like the president and his friends in the United States of America. That time will come when we will be able to start calling on the people of the world to boycott United States of America products.
Portray themselves as the saviors of Venezuela, and after blocking accounts, after sanctioning us, even freezing our assets, legal assets that we have in the United States, valued at $30 billion US, they now pretend to come as saviors of Venezuela by offering us some so-called humanitarian aid, which is worth only $20 million US. It's really an insult. But it's not only legally from an international law point of view. As I said, it's an insult, but actually, and President Donald Trump has said it a few times, and other spokespeople from the American administration have said that all the options are on the table, including the military one. And what we witnessed recently in Venezuela this past Saturday, it was an actual concealed form of attack coming from Colombia against Venezuela. And this is something that unfortunately not many people commented or informed about. And this is the type of aggression that we have been suffering from an economic point of view, from a financial point of view, from a political point of view, all the way to a military point of view. And so yeah, the threat from the United States against Venezuela is very clear. We are aware and cognizant of that. We always request the support of our friends worldwide in order to not defend the government of Venezuela, the government of Maduro, and so on. But we request respect for international law, respect for the United Nations Charter, non-intervention, not meddling into the domestic affairs of an independent country. That's all that we request.
The Venezuelan people feel happy to know that we are standing in solidarity with them. And the Venezuelan people are willing to continue to engage us and to work with our region as a region relating to the whole question of peace and the same developing cultural understanding and relationship. If our Afro community in Venezuela eager to meet us and eager to work with us and eager to participate in our emancipation activities here and our cultural activities here in Barbados, so that this in itself is bringing us closer to the Venezuelan people. It's bringing us closer and bringing the Venezuelan closer to us because we are now better understanding one another in this region. But this is something I want to say something in generally say I want to answer a question.
Okay, I want to ask a question. What the Venezuelan people, or what do you perceive from the Venezuelan people wherever you went about what the international media is saying about Venezuela? So, from the Venezuelan people point of view, because one thing is what is going on there, and another thing is what the media is saying. So what the Venezuelan people is saying about that?
The truth is, the Venezuelan people see it as a joke because the Venezuelan people are laughing at it because they don't really take the international media serious, and because the Venezuelan people know that what the international media is saying is not true because they're living there and they're experiencing the conditions themselves in Venezuela. Okay, so sometimes they will make a little joke out of it and laugh it off because really, literally, I thought that when I went to Venezuela, I would see people looking vexed and angry and worried. No, that is in Venezuela. the people are going about their business and working and going to school, and the universities are open, the schools are open, the hospital open, and the Venezuelan people are happy.
The shops open.
The shops open. In fact, I would like to let you know this. The supermarket shelves have groceries. The department stores have the goods. All the services and things that happen in the part of the country that happen. The markets where you got ground provisions, got lots of ground provisions and big watermelons and pumpkins, and and if you see the agriculture industry, people still working in the agriculture industries and other industries. Yes, they explain to us that they have problems in some areas relating to medication, and in terms of goods that they would normally buy from the United States of America, they're not getting them because of the embargo. But life continues, and the people decide, well, if this is what we have, we will make it do and live with it. And we are demanding, that's the difference that Venezuela was saying, they're demanding respect from the United States of America. They do not want them to come to Colombia border or Brazil border to give them goods. They want to be able to buy the goods themselves from the United States of America. They're not looking for aid. This is something that they're looking for. I can hear you.
Right, when you were talking about there are some shortages as it relates to medications, like when persons are on dialysis, those kinds of things. Is there a problem in that area at present? Because there isn't always an alternative that we can source.
Excuse me. What I would say is this explain some of the Venezuelan people explain to us that they have problems in terms of some medication and so forth that they normally will buy from the United States of America or maybe from Europe or whatever. Okay, because of the embargo, they have problems in those areas. I didn't get into any detailed discussion in terms of what are the alternatives and so forth, but I know that the Cubans are there, and that's the reason why they wanted that discussion, because the Cubans are there. The Cubans went through that kind of experience from economic and political embargo from the same United States of America, and they survived it. And I feel that once the Cubans are there, and the Cubans can give the necessary advice and so forth and help, the Venezuelan people will also to survive it and will move on. Because they have the country and the nation that went through it in the past, in the 1980s and 1990s, there by their side, and therefore I think it's something that they can get over. One far by one far.
Greetings. Morning all. What I would just like to add, because I've just returned from Venezuela as well.
Oh yeah.
Is that the Caribbean as a grouping of states cannot afford to walk away from this crisis. This crisis will be setting the most dangerous precedent in our region as we march towards our civilization. Because President Maduro, we have to understand, has been democratically and constitutionally elected by the people of Venezuela. And if the United States is not pleased, then which other Caribbean island or Latin American country will they want to apply the same kind of pressures when they are finished with Venezuela? So we cannot afford to walk away and say, well, this is not our business. This is very much our business in terms of our sovereignty, of our integrity, and towards the people controlling their environment. So the Caribbean, we as a collective nations, we cannot afford to walk away. And if we make, and when we continue to make our stands, then there will be fallout. Advisory, travel advisory. It will start as this and something else and something else. But we have to make a stand. And as Denny rightly put, if we band together, then we will be able to burden whatever sacrifices will be necessary to make. Because if there is a war in Venezuela, what will happen? What will happen to our trade in terms of the movement of people? More people will be leaving Venezuela and coming to the other Caribbean islands. What will happen to our zone of peace? These things are internationally recognized conditions of law. We in the Caribbean are not making up these things. We have been recognized through the United Nations as a zone of peace. People have a right to determine what their sovereignty, their lands and their seas and their airspace, what direction these things must go in. So we have to be aware of the conditions, we have to be aware of the fallout, but as again, if we stand together as one collective nation within the Caribbean region, we'll be able to build in whatever the dying colonial draconian actions we're trying to enforce upon us. Blessings.
BBC, CNN, or whatever. But when you go to Venezuela, you see for yourself, it's something totally different. Okay? Now, when you see a picture with the opposition leader, because we all refer to him as, I don't like to think about using any word person next to him. Like an opposition leader, but not the opposition leader either. In Venezuela, you see, the media have done this thing, have done a serious, create serious problems for us. The real opposition leaders in Venezuela is not this man. He's not the real opposition. The other leaders in Venezuela participated in the elections and are not part and parcel of this behavior. I sorry to mention that earlier. Because there are opposition forces in Venezuela are not supportive of Maduro, but they're not supporting any war either, and they're not supporting the United States of America behavior either. There are opposition forces in Venezuela that are not supporting this kind of behavior. And I'm talking about respected opposition leaders that have popular support in Venezuela.
Who run in the democratic election.
But being invisibilized by the media.
Yeah.
Like the Venezuelan people that support Maduro they're being invisibilized by the media. They don't exist.
Right.
Only exist Guaido and the supporters.
And when you have people around him, it's just like 200 persons, and they try to play it up as though it's a big crowd. But look, if you go anywhere in Venezuela and mention his name, nobody knows him. No one will think about him or take him as any serious political leader in Venezuela.
So the question that is then, why do the local media do a more in-depth
To be honest,
analysis of the situation?
To be honest, I must say that Barbados today sent a person to Venezuela, and he came back and he wrote, I saw 2 articles in the Barbados today. They were fairly good, and that was, it wasn't bad. But what I noticed is that he had been using negative news that would have taken place in Barbados from the group in Barbados and putting it into the article. But you can see that when he went to Venezuela, that he saw a country without any problems. There's not any problem that he can report to the Barbadian people about Venezuela. All he can report is about what he see, and what he saw was very good. Okay, so the articles, I don't have a problem with the articles, but just 1 or 2 little areas in the articles that he wanted to, to make you feel that he's a balanced journalist. Okay, but I accept that. So I don't want to knock the local media in Barbados, because I think we need to encourage the local media to do positive things, and that would be for the local media to go to Venezuela and see for themselves.